Now today in the shop, we worked on our Evil Twins MT09 windshield. This is the second part. We did some sanding, we did some shaping, added some pieces to it, did some Bondo work. Ultimately, by the end of the day, got it in prime. But an unfortunate thing is the day ended early. And actually we ran out of time because we spent about half of the day over at the kids' house moving their furniture from inside the house out into a pod. And the whole A-team showed up, well, a good part of them anyway. And thank you everybody who showed up. And we'll put a couple minutes of that on the video here. Actually, we started the day off that way. And I got to pick up a part that we're going to work on for Turbo Steve's new bike. So today promises to be a day like no other. We're working on the MT09, the Evil Twin windshield. We're going to have to put that aside this morning for two reasons. Turbo Steve is supposed to stop by with his tank, the Suzuki tank, the turbo tank for me to paint, number one. Number two, the kids want to work, and I didn't know they were going to do this till the last minute. Today is pod day, and they're going to get some of their friends, and we're going to try to load that pod up in a couple hours. And then Turbo Steve's going to come down and help us load the pod, he says anyway. And he's pretty reliable. He helped me put the microwave in, among other things, just like Joe Padula helped me with the stones. Well, I've got a good set of friends, thank you one and all. But today is pod day. Once that's done, then I can plan out the day, get Turbo Steve into the assembly line here, get his project going, and then we'll do some more work on that windshield. And the epoxy dried up overnight. But again, I want to shape it and do dry fits and everything. It should be an interesting day, but then every day that's not a Groundhog Day is interesting. Now, Stefan in Romania has been emailing me pretty much every day, every other day. We've been sharing pictures and photos and things. Of course, I've shared some on the video. But I didn't realize this until last night. This war thing that's going on in the Ukraine is 30 miles from his village. He lives very close to the Russian border. So, Stefan, we are all praying for peace, of course. And hopefully it's not going to affect your stuff. Hopefully it wouldn't affect anybody. People don't know I'm half Ukrainian, so I should be saying double prayers, and I will, that all works its way out eventually. But I don't know. When I don't do good politics. I try to keep this channel for motorcycling, but this is a unique time, that's for sure. And Stefan, we are all praying for you. And being honest, I really never want my life to turn into Groundhog Days where every day's the same. I don't think today's going to be the same. And I don't know where it's going, but that's the way I like it. And I actually haven't seen Turbo Steve or Maria in a while, so it'll be a good chance for us to link up, get the pod loaded, and if there's any time left over, if not, we'll have to work on it tomorrow, do some more sanding and grinding, and maybe Turbo Steve has some ideas about that windshield. I don't know. So, hey, we'll find out. He had some good ideas about the FCR that I actually used some of his ideas for the paintwork. So, and that's what's nice about our channel, sharing information. Guess what? We all win. And the chain guard came out great. I'm happy, but I can't even tell you how happy I am about those wheels. Wow. Turbo Steve hasn't seen this in real life. I guess he'll see it in real life today. And we're going to do some more fitting on the windshield, of course. We've got a lot of stuff to do before I'm happy, because this new windshield incorporates those little winglets, I call them. But again, it's evolving, and it's evolving one step at a time. Kind of happy the way it's evolving too. But it's off to the pod. And while the coffee's brewing, I'm just checking out how this dried up. That epoxy dried up beautifully last night. That'll be ready to work on once we get this day underway. Okay, the pod is ready. This is going to be, the contractor's going to actually help us load the pod. Wow, look at this. Holy mackerel. Woo! Only on a windy video. Here we got some of the new wires in. The deck. Got a lot of the garbage out. It's all in a dumpster now. Man, this is going to be some big room, baby. This is all going to be one big room in the end. Oh boy, is that going to be nice.
Well, that's good though. They're leaving, so.
There's a guy. He shows up ready to work. Good man. This couch weighs, I think there's cement in the bottom of it.
I used to be a mover, right?
Yeah, okay.
This sort of pain in the ass.
So we're gonna go up against the wall.
Big money is what it is. That's the heaviest piece they got right there. That's the big guy. Turbo Steve was supposed to be here too. Maybe he went to get bagels or something. That is a perfect fit. Wow, you guys are great. Joe Roselli's here, Rip is here, hey, the whole crew is here. Holy mackerel. When you're in the mafia, it's easy to get people put away. You can't get a third chair up there, I think. You can? Okay.
Take these out.
We are using every cubic inch of this space. Good thing we have the A-team regulars here. We are doing a great job. Rob, can you believe how good that's working?
Oh, great.
Rob, give me your height over here.
Rob, you need a tall guy. Rob, give him a hand with that. I'm not tall enough. That excuse works for me all the time. Now, who knew that Rip was a professional mover?
Change the name of the business.
Okay, guys, listen. Listen.
Change it back to rapping movers.
Listen, I want to tell you that you're on Undercover Boss. And I'm the boss.
He's fired.
You're all fired. No, everybody stand by the pod. The A-team is back. The A-team is back. Shut the door. We've rid the human race. Oh, look at this. Oh, my God.
Get in. I'll take a picture.
And I want to, again, thank everybody that showed up and helped. And we actually had a lot of fun today. There's another story that goes at the end of this, even beyond. But this was just a great day. So the A-team is going up for a bagel dinner, free dinner when you load the pod. So after the move today, and thank you guys, one and all, everybody that gave up some time to help us out here. It was just like the old days with the A-team, and boy, I love every one of yous. But anyway, that's not the end of the story. The story is, when I went back later in the afternoon, I had to go back. We had packed something further up into the pod. They had to take some of the stuff out to get the paperwork they needed, or whatever it was. I wasn't there when they found it. And the story, it's like the unending story. The story of us all. So the great pod adventure is over, and it was so good to see the people on the A-team all pitching in when we tore a shed down for Luciano. We moved Glenn's stuff. We painted his garage. Joe Roselli, how many things we did together at Joe's house. Oh, and the late Bob Navola, of course. God almighty, we miss him. And Rip, thank you, one and all. Thank you, everybody that took part in this great adventure. And when we go to put it back, it'll be a lot less work. So I'm going to make this a 2-day video. Tomorrow I'm going to start working on a part again. We have too many other family little loose ends to take care of, but this was a day worth remembering, and I'll be rejuvenated by tomorrow morning. And boy, did it bring back memories of when the A-team, we used to do this kind of stuff almost every week. God, the memories I have. And again, thank you all the guys that helped today. And of course, Luciano and Joe Padula offered to help, but of course, they both have medical issues they have to work around. So it was good. We did have enough help. And even the people who couldn't show up, thank you guys for even thinking about me. I really feel like it was a great day today. But tomorrow I'm going to get back to working on that windshield. And I'm psyched to see if that little windshield is going to work. And the nice thing about all Evil Twin stuff, if you don't like it, you just put the old part back. In fact, Turbo Steve dropped off a fender for me to paint. So this is Turbo Steve's custom fender, hugger. And we'll get that next time. We're going to be doing some painting black. We'll take care of that. It's a shame I didn't have that when I did the black on Luciano's tank. I would have had to paint. But that's the problem of doing this kind of work. Okay, so on our windshield here, I can take the tape off now and start sanding that down. And we're going to build a fillet or a radius or something in here. I don't know yet until I do a dry fit. And that's actually parchment paper, and wax paper would have worked just as well. But now I can dress off all these edges. This is now going to need a little bit of hand sanding, and then we're going to have to sand the whole thing at the very end with 400 and make sure we like the shape before we do go to the next step. All right, now the trick is to get all these edges radiused off, get this part blended in, relatively labor intensive, and then go out and we'll see if we like the shape and do a little bit of a dry fit, see how that's going to look. And then we're going to have to probably use some Bondo. I have some 4C Bondo that's real good, glass filled. That'll be good if I want to build, and I don't know if I want to build that radius up yet, or how big I want to build it, or if I'm going to be happy with this shape, the overall shape. I don't know yet. Now, just at this point, I had all of these little accessory things that I had trimmed off and added on. Everything is roughed out and oversized. And what I'm trying to do in my mind, I want to get the overall look that I'm looking for before I go on to any detailing or sanding or priming. And this, having this attached to epoxy and having it dry overnight, it's super, it's stronger than the plexiglass part by itself. No, I did a lot of block and hand sanding to blend that in. To get this angle, that from the top, it's an exact angle. It looks like it's pretty close. Now what I have to do now is get some 4CR Bondo, and I have to do this outside because I don't want to stink up the house while we have house guests here. And make a little fillet in there. I'll do that outside, even though it's, I don't know, it's about 35 degrees out there now. Now this is the 4CR Bondo. It's glass filled. This really has been working well on other jobs that I've done. And I'm going to make that little fillet out of this. I'll go out on a back bench and do it, so I don't smell up the house too much. Now, one of the things about using Bondo, this Bondo is exceptionally good and strong, sands beautifully, but it does have an odor that, and my daughter, who's staying with us, living in the house with us right now, is allergic to these type of smells and chemicals and stuff. So I worked outside with this, and I decided, well, because it was really around 35 degrees, I thought, well, you know what, I ought to do the same forced drying. I normally wouldn't have to do this if it was a little bit warmer or be able to put it in the house, but this got me through the day, and it really was not a problem. And probably if you live in a cold weather climate, that's a good trick. And it was a nice sunny day. I thought if I get this shaped up the way I wanted to, I could, at a minimum, get the final sanding done and get it in prime if the day held out. Well, that's going to dry, I'm guessing 5-10 minutes. We'll go have a cup of coffee, come back, and I'll be ready to start sanding and shaping. Now, shaping a Bondo, I showed these little rolled up rolls of sandpaper tools I used on the wheels that we just restored. Not really restored, we redid them for the MT09, but I showed a lot of these little special sanding tools. I had used these in modeling many, many years, and they work just as good in making custom motorcycle parts like this. In fact, there's not a lot different making this part than making a part for a model airplane. Those skills are pretty much interchangeable. So this is what we started with as the Bondo dried up, and of course Bondo sands easily. So we sanded it with a lot of tools like this, all different radiuses to get that radius right, and then with the sanding block to get this that you can't see where the radius ends on both sides. And I built up a little radius in the back and trued up the front here. So now it's a simple thing. I just have to, and it took a lot of time, I just have to do the same thing to the other side, but that usually goes a little bit quicker. Now, using the little sanding tools that I showed, and a lot of them on the MT09 wheel videos that are just before this, and we do try to post something up every day, so I try not to get it too redundant. Anyway, I always start with some rougher paper like 180 or 220 and get it eventually down to 400. 400 leaves a real nice etch on the Bondo and on the windshield. We're going to eventually sand both sides of the windshield because I want an etch so that the primer and ultimately so the finish itself that we're going to put on here sticks well. Now with both sides sanded and all the edges radiused, time to go outside and do a little dry fit and see how this looks and if we want to make any more changes. Okay, time to tighten up the bolts, get a dry fit on this. So step one, I want to go down to the belt sander and true that edge up. And I have I left them oversized so I could get an exact angle there. And I just put a belt on there yesterday, another belt that has a little bit finer grit. The original one was getting worn and it was a rough grit. This did a much nicer job of putting a nice straight edge on. It was predictable cutting. And like everything, a new tool, a new blade, a new edge. New stuff always seems to work just a little better than old. And that includes, of course, people. Well, after the test fit, I realized I liked it better with the little point that matches. They chamfered that off. I chamfered this off. I want to do one more dry fit on it before I do a final sanding. I want to make sure I've got all these edges radiused. Everything has to have a radius on it. Now, every step of this is just, you have to just be super fussy and take your time. It just turns into, like everything we do almost, turns into a labor of love. But when you're done, when I'm done with this part, I'll have one more evil twin part that I can swap out from time to time and make the bike my own. Getting pretty close to what I had in mind here. Closer every time. And every time you have the patience to do a dry fit, you find one other little thing that's not in good alignment. Now this, I like the idea that both of these, and I was thinking to myself, every time you wipe the bike off, you'll catch that. So that's nice that it's, I like that, I actually like the shape a little bit better. And once I get this and I make sure all the angles, everything is exactly the way I want it, then this whole thing has to be wet sanded with 400 and get ready for prime. So after all this, now the last thing is going to be to get that downstairs and wet sand it, get a nice etch on everything, and maybe even get this primed today, the way the weather's playing out. So far, so good with the weather. So the last part of this is to get the whole thing etched, 400 sandpaper. And if it's not dark out there by the time we're done, we may even get this, I'm hoping we're going to get this, at least get the primer on it, and get it out in the driveway, out in the garage drying. We'll see. But I don't want to rush it, and if it doesn't work out, if it gets dark, we'll do it tomorrow. But this whole thing needs to have an etch. If I painted this without sanding it with 400, it paint with good chance it would not stick, a real good chance. So I'll just pay the price and get this sanded out. And this was a good chance to use up some of the inexpensive sandpaper, the 400 that Luciano gave me. I had a couple sheets left over. Nowhere's near even close to being as good as the Indasa, but for something like this, where all you're going to do is put an etch on it, it's a good way to use that material up. And in my opinion, the best sandpaper that I like is the Indasa. Okay, now the next thing I have to do is make a handle so I can hold this while I prime it. I want to get the primer ready, and I had a nice handle for the first one. I think I still have it. I had this piece of, it's just a piece of balsa wood with a little taper on it. I wonder if the glue gun's hot yet. Not quite. Anyway, we positioned this in a spot that I know it doesn't show because all of the brackets are in the way here. So let me just hit the glue gun here. And this is just a temporary thing. We could break this off whenever we're done. So on the other windshield we used primer sealer, and that worked pretty well. But again, they may make a special primer for plexiglass. I don't know. This seems to work well, and it goes. I know it goes over the carbon fiber really well. So, but it's always a primer that says primer sealer. Rust-Oleum's good, and so is this. And the temperature basically still right around freezing, a little above. Means we're putting on our all paint, including a primer, thin coats, dry coats. Oh, we're working right to the end of the day today. Beautiful sunset though. What a day. It's been a productive day. And that's up by the heating vent for about 10-15 minutes, and we'll see if we can get the blue on today, but I don't know, we're running out of daylight here. Well, as happens many times here on the Ponderosa, we just ran out of time today. By the time I did some of the things Karen wanted me to do, it's already dark out there. Miles is here, and just going to live to fight another day. The primer will dry, overnight. Tomorrow we'll get the blue and the clear. We'll get this painted for Turbo Steve, and maybe get the clear on it. So we can get a lot more done in one day if we do two projects that both need clear and both need a spray. So rather than rush it, and it's always a good idea to be patient. Patience really pays in the world of painting. Now, I thought I'd end this video with some great A-Team memories back in the day. And I'm sure this is back in 12 or 13. Joe Roselli and I were talking today when we were working on a pod about how many years. The A-Team went on for about 10 years. Is Vince's Honda. And I know Vince had a beautiful shop at one time. I'm not sure if he's still working on motorcycles. I haven't seen him in a year or two. And Vince, I hope you're enjoying your new life of retirement. Anyway, this was when Glenn got his first Ducati. I think this is the first one. Maybe I'm wrong. Oh, the first one of the sport bike ones. And we went for a ride one day. We went with the R1 and this Ducati, and in the middle of the ride switched bikes. And it was a pretty cool bike, no doubt about it. But the only problem with me, of course, clip-ons the last 4 or 5 years, clip-ons don't work for me for long rides anymore. But still nice to get out if you have short rides, no problem at all. But you go for a 150-mile ride, the clip-ons get old very quick after about 100 miles. Anyway, and then you start wishing you were on that GS 1100. Vince, we miss you, guy. And Luciano and Glenn, they shared a bike at a track day, one of Luciano's Ducatis. And I think that was one of the things that got Glenn interested in the sport bike Ducatis. Charlie with his Moto Guzzi, and many rides that we went on. Actually, Charlie led a ride. I wish I could find a video. I can't find a video. We went down in his area, down south. Beautiful ride, beautiful area. And Charlie had a Bultaco at the time, and maybe he still has it. And, of course, the MV Augusta. But boy, was it great seeing everybody, seeing Joe and every one of the people that when we had the A-Team and we were doing this and meeting at Choppers almost every weekend, 9 months of the year. Absolutely great memories. Now, one thing I never regret is the time and energy I spent taking pictures of the things we did with the A-Team. This is when Glenn first moved into his house in Piermont, and he had the big garage, he had the big back deck, and we had met at his house several times. Karen bought some decorations for his house. She made curtains for the house. We actually spent 2 days hanging up the curtains you see in here. And we got Glenn sorted out. You're going to see pictures of Bobby Navola here and his son and Glenn's daughter. We all worked together on getting Glenn this really nice shop. That's Glenn's daughter. Wearing my shirt. Look at that. Hey. And everybody, Najat was there. And I just remember this day, a priceless day. And the things you always remember about friends is the days you had like this together. It's like if you live in Indiana, you have a barn raising, or there's Bobby. Bobby, we miss you, guy. And I think that's Najat's Ducati. I'm not sure. Najat had several of them. They all were very similar. And Karen baked cookies for this. And Glenn had a friend, and I really don't remember his name. He brought hot dogs and hamburgers or whatever he did. And we all were working together. And by the end of the day, the garage had a fresh coat of paint on it. Glenn didn't do his fair share, but he was busy eating cookies. But there's Bobby and his son. We had a great time. This is a memory I'm sure Glenn will remember. I remember it. And in case you forget it, I got plenty of pictures. Look, and if you saw this garage when you first moved in, it was pretty rough. At the end of the day, when we were cleaning up and patting each other on the back, Glenn, thank you for the help today. And Bobby, every time I see a picture of Bobby, and I do have a lot of pictures of him, my God, if there ever was a great guy, Bob Navola is it, and we miss him. We miss him dearly. So if you're new to the channel or the first time you've ever seen one of my videos, we try to post something up almost every day. We try to post up not only the work we're doing on bikes every day, and we try to work 7 days a week, or ride, even better, ride 7 days a week. But to see our friends on a regular basis, share some good memories, share some adventures, and my photo library that's very extensive of the memories of the A-team and all the things that went with it, all the friendships, all the track days, all the rides, all the things. And some of the people like Bobby have passed on, but we never will forget them. And I hope you did enjoy the video, and please share it with your friends. And thanks so much for watching.